Hello and welcome to the Libri Labra book club. I am Desirai, you are on my channel, and I'm joined today by my husband John, aka BookTube hubby, and also by book club VIP member Tom. And before we jump into things, just want to let you know that if you ever want to join us on camera during a chat, you can do that by becoming a book club VIP member on Patreon at patreon.com/Libri Labra. And there's a few other perks like priority responses in YouTube comments and getting a custom bookmark, being in a rotation where you get to select the books that we're reading, and of course joining us on camera and seeing like bloopers and behind the scenes stuff. So even if you're not ready to become a Patreon, you can follow over there and just kind of see what's going on until you decide. So today is like the last day of September, and this was our September pick. So we are discussing Alone with You in the Ether by Olivie Blake, and we're going to go into initial thoughts first, and then we'll jump into spoilers. So if you haven't read the book yet, go read it, come back. This video will be available for you to watch. But this was my pick. I have multiple copies of this book. I have like this very pretty blue edition with sprayed edges and with honeycomb stenciled on it. I have another copy that came from Fairy Loot, but
you gotta put it closer to the camera.
There you go.
I read The Atlas 6 by Olivie Blake, and I absolutely loved it. So I started picking up all of her other books. And September is my birthday month, and I like to read romance in September because that's my favorite genre. So that was why I picked the book. And we can kind of jump into initial thoughts, and you can go first.
Happy birthday. Let's see. Initial thoughts. I figured it was a love story because Alone with You in the Ether. It sounded
like a love story. I mean, so it says a love story on the cover.
Oh, I didn't even see that part. But no, I didn't. That was my initial thoughts.
Okay.
I knew what I was getting into.
Tom.
I think that's about my take on it too. It's just like, well, possibly. Oh no, a love story was my reaction, but yes. So.
I have learned not to put too much stock when a book says a love story, or like not to necessarily equate that with romance, because Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow was also a love story, and that absolutely did not go how I was expecting. So a lot of times a love story tends to be a lot messier than the normal.
More on that later.
The normal.
I read the Goodreads tags, so that's how I found out. So, however people shelved the book, it's like, aha, I know what this is about.
For me, initial thoughts after reading it, I think there's some things that I'm still confused about, and also I'm not sure I understand the decision for that first part in regards to formatting. I thought it was interestingly formatted. There was like stage direction and stuff like that in it. So I'm not entirely sure what was the deal with that, but hopefully we'll talk a little bit about that. So those were our initial thoughts. We are now going to jump into spoiler territory. And I guess we could start with that. How weird was that first part for both of you?
Did you read the audiobook or consume it via audiobook?
I always do both when I have
when
I'm available. So, and yes, I mean, I was surprised by it, but it got to the point where you're just restating the obvious. It's like, yes, it was a nice first start, and then when we get about a third way book, it's like, okay, now it's just being uncreative and obvious, and then it just disappeared.
You think they realized that as on the way, or it was?
But the surprising thing is leaving it in.
Forgotten about.
Yeah, so why not just take it out and just and not have it? But
that's the way the first part was written. They didn't want to rewrite it.
Well, but it's for that reason that I feel like it must have served a purpose that perhaps I am missing, like to represent something. Like I had
You had a
said to
good theory.
John that, and there's a lot of mental health discussion in this book. Both of the characters have mental health issues that they're struggling with. And I was wondering if maybe it was in some way supposed to kind of separate when um, Regan, was that her name?
Mhm.
Was on medication versus when she wasn't.
Oh, okay.
I'd probably have to go back and pay a little bit more attention to see if that was the case at all. But as far as I know, the story started with her being on medication, and then slowly, more often, people are like, are you taking your medication?" And it seems like, um, the more she felt comfortable, the more she felt alive, the more she was like, "Well, I don't want to go back to it at this point." Um, so I don't know. I guess I was wondering if that was the purpose of it. I'm kind of glad it didn't go through the whole story. I don't know if I necessarily loved that formatting. Did you find it distracting? Or as an actor, did it feel familiar? Like,
No.
The nearest thing that I could think of that I could liken it to is like the Greek chorus in like a Greek play where they would comment on they aren't part of the action, but they comment on it.
right.
And some of the comments were good, but then toward the end, it's like, God, you just restated what just happened here. It wasn't really productive at all. So, but yeah, if that is the case, I wish I would have been more. I wish I either A, picked up on it, or B, it was more obvious, or a combination of both. That was because she went off her meds.
Or there's also a lot of talk about the metaverse, and I don't think I was able to identify whether it was just talk or if there was metaverse things happening throughout the story.
All I can say is whenever they bring that up, I was like, I've seen Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Right.
And that's what's running through my head while I was reading this book. So.
Guess I have to watch that.
Oh, if you haven't seen it, it is. You have to see it. As a warning, it's one of those films like, what the hell did I just watch here?
Yeah.
But it is so good. But to the point of the book, though, it's like, there's a theory that there used to be an iOS app that did this, where if you had a decision, like yes or no, and you made that decision, the universe would fork off, and you'd have two different universes: one where you said yes, and one where you said no.
This book went differently than I was expecting. I still appreciate her writing, but there was more like formatting things happening in the story that were just a little, I guess, I don't know if off-putting is the right word. Maybe like there were full chapters where it was like an entire conversation between the characters was being reiterated, but not in a way where you were like actually seeing the dialogue. It was like it was being filtered through one character's thoughts.
Yes, I thought that was good.
It was definitely interesting. Be careful. And I don't think I've read something like that too often. I don't know if the purpose of that was just to kind of show the chaos, because I think it was mostly with Regan that it happened, those chapters, maybe occasionally with Aldo, but it seemed like it was just trying to establish the very chaotic, very quick thinking in her mind, I guess, because she was just very fiery. Is that a good word to describe her?
I'll accept it.
It could be that her just mind ran amok when she wasn't on her pills. Like the person I think of is like Robin Williams, who seemed to be, his mind was just going all the time, and that's why I associated with her as well. Like the drugs she was on, from what I gather, they cut off the highs and the lows, and they kept it in the middle. But without those highs and lows, she couldn't create.
Right.
So
Which sucks.
yes.
But also then was the question of, was she a creator? Because it seemed like she didn't think she was until Aldo said she was. Right? Like the majority of the story, she didn't feel like an artist. She didn't feel like she was something. She was
previously she had used her talent for ill things. So she shut it away.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, I guess, the spark needed to bring it back.
How did you guys feel about her relationship with Mark?
Apparently everybody's screw Mark, but
Did you feel bad for Mark? Did you?
No, I mean, I don't know. Maybe
well, he was kind of a dick. I mean,
he was. It sounded like he was a little
Narcissistic?
Yeah, that.
A little possessive too. Yeah, but it seemed very disingenuous at first. Like, oh, but I have a boyfriend. We're holding hands, but I have a boyfriend. I was like, wait, what now?
I mean, but from the very first chapter, it seemed like she was trying to break up with him. Like, even before she met Aldo, she was trying to break up with him, and he was like,
"You'll just come right back. Don't worry." He I don't know. He was just gaslighting her.
Yeah.
He was what?
Gaslighting her into staying in the relationship.
No, but
just be back. Don't worry about it. It's just something you want to get out of your system. Go ahead, come back.
Okay, but that was later. That was after she met Aldo. I'm talking about like the very first chapter where her and Mark are together. She's thinking about the mediocre sex they had, and like,
oh jeez,
and then she
I don't know. Of many things.
I don't know what movie you're talking about.
I'm thinking of anything.
Oh, but and then she basically tells him like, I think we should break up.
Yeah.
So, and even in that moment, he wasn't like, yeah, go have a taste of Aldo, because he didn't exist yet. So he was just like, are you okay? And that's when he was asking her, are you on your meds? Are you like, what are you feeling right now? What's going on? Do you need to fight? Like obviously he became more of a jerk later on in the story.
It did seem genuine at first.
Yeah, it seemed like he did know her and accept her, because I would imagine.
Except he knew that version of her that she presented to him based on their relationship. How about that? Because the way I read that, the way I understood it was like, she's like, oh yeah, I really should break up with him, but it's so comfortable, I don't see why I have to. So we'll just carry on, But she doesn't have the passion in the relationship that she clearly develops with Aldo later on. So Mark sees the dispassionate or not as passionate version of her that she presents to him.
There was other stuff, like I wish I had made notes, because there was other stuff kind of going on in the dynamic of their relationship. I know at one point it's brought up that she consistently brings home men that her parents will hate, which I thought was interesting. I think Regan, just as a character, I think there were aspects of her that seemed very relatable and a little bit frightening in their relatability. But I guess when you need those drastic highs and lows, like she was kind of willing to create chaos to feel those things, because better to feel than not feel anything at all, which seems like how she was feeling on her medication. I thought the chapters with her therapist were interesting. I have read other books where like maybe therapists are mentioned, but not too often that you see like the conversations. And so it was interesting to see like what her therapist was asking her, how little she was revealing about herself with her therapist, like her frustrations in the conversations. So did you go ahead?
I was gonna say, but she did that with everybody. Like she had that armor around herself, not necessarily armor, but protect. Like for example, when she was giving that tour that Aldo was on, and I can't remember the particulars, but it was the kind of thing where he was asking her questions, and it took a while before she actually got impassioned. Well, don't you see this about this painting? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? You know, as opposed to the docent, here's the rote text version of the thing, rather than saying, "Oh, you need to see this painting, and this is why." So,
Well, there was obviously something about Aldo that disrupted
mm-hmm.
just the regular current of her life and interactions and stuff
Mhm.
like that.
Hang on. Speaking of disruptions,
Is that bothering you?
I'm sure not just me, probably bothering a bunch of people who might be watching this.
Was
Just
it waving?
A waving freaking towel
You're
behind us,
welcome.
constantly moving.
There's the flag.
Okay, I feel better now. Sorry.
What? I don't know if I missed it because, like, yeah, it was like her dad's birthday at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like her dad was mentioned more than he was actually
In it.
a character. Yeah, because I'm now just really realizing that I thought her dad was deceased, which doesn't make sense if they were celebrating his birthday at some point.
Right. Or was it an anniversary? I can't remember.
It was both, I think.
Oh, they had two of them. Yeah. All right.
Did they say what her dad did?
I think so, but I do not recall what it was.
Yeah, I don't recall either, but obviously he had a painting. Was it a painting he owned or a painting he made?
No, he acquired it.
Oh, he acquired it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, because one of the things when she, about her rebellion against him was that, oh, she saw it and, she said, oh, he probably got that because he knew, like for the value of it, not the art of it.
Right.
Sort of a thing.
Well, that's interesting commentary.
Well, that's what enabled her to. That's one of the reasons why she was a forger, because she was able to forge the painting and fool him. And it's like, I pulled one over on you. You thought that was good. I could do the same thing, and here it is, and you didn't even know.
Oh, okay. So she forged the painting and left the forgery with him.
Yes.
And sold the actual one. Okay.
Yes.
All right, that makes more sense. Because I thought she forged it. Yeah. Okay, I thought she forged it and sold the forgery, but okay. And then she did that just to have her own studio.
Well, if she did, there wouldn't be the rebellion of haha, I fooled you.
Right.
So, because that's what she seemed to be trying to do throughout the book, is trying to be the rebellious teen against her parents. So, for lack of a better word.
Her mom was not great. I can't imagine her just ignoring everybody's phone calls like that, the way she did. The fact that, like, she was getting news months later or 10 days later or however much later, it's like, how are you even, like, interacting with anybody on that kind of timeline? Like, you can't. And obviously she didn't care, but
it was Aldo all the time.
But that was later. She was already ignoring people's calls and texts before Aldo came into the picture.
She seemed to be that kind of person. That's all I can say. That does that.
It's a mental thing, I guess.
Now,
avoidance.
For her, like, they talked about highs and lows, so the implication is kind of like maybe that she was bipolar in some sense. But did they say what Aldo was dealing with? It sounded like depression, but I wasn't sure if it was something other than that.
But he didn't really seem depressed at any point in the novel, really, did he?
I mean, I didn't get that idea unless it's an existential intellectual depression.
Well, I don't know if like he himself, like I don't know. I feel like the author told us he was depressed versus like showed us that he was depressed, because it was implied multiple times that his obsession with math and like theoretical math was
Mhm.
having something to constantly get up for, to think about, to live for, essentially. And that was said multiple times, that math was kind of what saved him, because it gave him a reason to keep living, to keep thinking, to keep.
I didn't see it that way. I thought it was more or less a way to calm him, to actually give him something to focus on. That way he actually like work on a normal level versus like always looking for something to do or something to if he's always constantly finding an endpoint somewhere, it's not always something to look. I guess I don't know. I guess you can look at it as a depression thing, but I really thought it was just some more of a, I guess, an ADHD thing or I don't know how to express it. I guess
I'd probably have to go back and highlight the specific passages that I felt were explaining. But I mean, like even his dad, like I don't feel like you need to be as careful with ADHD as you might need to be with depression, in regards to like how frequently his dad was checking up on him.
okay, I see what you're saying. Okay,
Um, because he was constantly telling his dad, "I'm okay, it's fine, you don't have to check up on me." But his dad very strongly felt like he both wanted to and needed to.
just to keep a wandering mind from going mad.
A proof of life. Especially
Right?
that he's still around.
Or that he's still there and he's still thinking, working, pondering.
Mhm.
But it was in one of their very first conversations that she was like, "Why math?" And then he didn't really answer her, but she was the one that figured it out, that, oh, it gives you a reason to get up. I get it.
Mhm.
Do you know what the deal was with the conversations?
Why there were 6?
Yeah.
Because
Was
the
that
hexagons, because of bees. It's 6-sided.
Mhm.
There's also 6 parts of the book.
But who started that? Did she? Because he was the one that had talked about the bees.
He's focused on the hexagon because it thought it has more to do with time than the circle would.
Okay. Because circles don't exist.
And hence the bees, because the hexagonal honeycombs and whatnot.
But was he the one that said, "Let's have 6 conversations," or she like took that from him? Like she.
I don't think he was the one that said that.
Okay, because she later did that with her therapist. So I thought maybe it was like one of her little tricks or plans or whatever.
I don't remember who came up with it, but it seemed like mutually agreed to, obviously, because they did it. So
It sounds like a psychological way to break down actually whether or not you're going to get to know the person, or if it's just we're going to have these conversations and move on.
Mhm.
Because if you really want to get to know somebody in those 6 conversations, you're going to be very careful about what you ask them to talk about.
Okay, so is that why he kept saying this is not a conversation? Because
you don't
he
learn
didn't.
anything.
Because he didn't want it to count as one of the 6.
Well,
Mhm.
they both were bending rules here and there.
Well, and I was about to say, and that's they were both playing a game together, and that's how you learn about somebody. You have a shared experience, and then you say, oh well, this has happened. Oh well, that doesn't count because of this, and then so you establish that world together, in which you're playing that game. So
The biggest part of the story that I didn't understand was when I guess he realizes that she forged something. She
Mhm.
forged a painting. Um, what is it like if you were to take the story from there and like just summarize it till the end? What is it that happened for you?
Who are you asking?
I'll start
Nah.
with you.
Mm-mm.
No, you
I
have
have no idea
no
what
idea.
like because of when it started they each started going on their own different imaginary timelines. Like I got lost in which one was actually supposed to be valid.
All right, how about you, Tom?
I think my takeaway from that, and I was like, is this it? It was, I guess he said, oh, she did it because she wanted to do it. It's like, well, yeah, you know, um, I'm not sure what she was trying to prove, but and that seemed to be like, and then after that they split apart, I guess. So
Right. So they split apart was my understanding because he felt like she hadn't changed at all, and that she was just kind of pretending to be something, and that she was just still lying or whatever. I thought it was going to end a lot more tragically, to be honest, because of the narrator notes after that. Um, but so they broke up. He went away, and then she decided to paint something real. Is that
yes,
okay?
well, I think she got it. Not that she decided to, she got the inspiration to,
Mm,
and that's she couldn't have done. She clearly couldn't have done it without him because he gave her the idea that sparked the spark.
Well, what
right.
was the piece? Was it the one of him that she started, or was it something else?
It was the one where they're on the rooftop looking at the stars, and it's all hexagonal,
Mm,
along with you in the ether.
right, right.
Yeah. So
Okay. So we are assuming he was upset about the forgery. That's when they broke up. Time passed. She was inspired to create a painting. He saw it at whatever event.
mhm.
And then I don't think he contacted her after that. She called him to be
Yeah.
like, to have a conversation. Um, because it seemed like I wasn't sure. I was like, are we seeing things in two universes? That's where I started.
Well, they did do a bit of the multiverse thing. It's like, well, here's a universe where they never got back together. Here's a universe where they did this. There's a universe that they did this, but those aren't the universes we're in. We're in one where they get together.
Right. Okay.
Okay, I might have to reread from the point that they broke up to understand a little bit better because
Mhm.
it got messy for me there.
And it's possible that all of those universes exist
Right.
too. We just happen to be in this one that things turned out in this way.
Um, I thought it was interesting what she was saying about how they would turn a corner and meet anyway, like
Mhm.
regardless, even if it wasn't in that moment. And what she was saying about how they would recognize each other because they already knew each other. And I don't know why, but some for some reason I relate that to dreams. Like I feel like I've had dreams where I've had a specific phrase or something in mind that would come up in a dream to let me know that I was in a dream. Um, so I liked that she was mentioning that, or that they would always have that familiarity.
Mhm.
It seemed romantic, I guess, but also, I don't know. Do you think?
And it's the idea of past life. Is that what this means? Like, we'll find you again in another life?
I would say more
Or,
predestination, perhaps. That you're fated to be together. You're fated to meet, for example.
oh, if it doesn't work now, it will later?
Yeah.
Is that what that means?
Which reminds me of another book, but that's neither here nor there. which we have read, but anyway. Love and Time Cholera. But anyway.
But does that resonate with you? Like the idea that, like, I don't know, when I met you, I remember feeling like I feel like I've known you my whole life. Like, even though we had just met and we were just getting to know each other, like there was this underlying feeling of not that we were meeting for the first time, but that we were being reunited.
Interesting.
It was just me.
I never thought that I was that.
Oh, we're trying to use that in real time now.
I never would have imagined that I was an old soul, to be honest. I mean, I could, yeah. I mean, other people say that I have been, but
well, who could say?
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly like I experienced it, but do you not remember feeling like you knew me even before you knew me? Was that like a specifically bit. Me feeling?
Probably not.
Yeah, but that's different from saying we were fated to meet. You know what I mean? You know, the fact that you met could be a random circumstance, and you just happen to have these things come. You know what I mean? It's right. Like free will versus, fate.
Who's to know?
Right. Who's to know? And that's like a lot of the times that Aldo was trying to say, I was like, who's to know? You know? And part of the depression could be, it's like, you're never going to solve these. You know? Chances are. But you still have to think about them because, that's what you do. So.
There were moments that I felt bad for Aldo because I feel like he was being very honest and very matter of fact, and she was very not. Yes. Not at all. Especially when, I don't know, at some point I think he said, I'll be with you as long as you'll have me, or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. Which seemed like, I don't know, I kind of liked that he said that. I thought it was sweet. I thought it was like him not having any expectations. It was him just kind of appreciating whatever time they had as much as they had. And she was just like, well, what does that mean? Does that mean you don't think we're going to be together? Does that mean you're like, I don't know, she was flipping out about it, I feel like.
Sounds about right.
and like, I don't know. It sounded like she just wanted him to fight over it. I don't know if I'm explaining that properly.
So like she wanted him to confirm forever, and he's like, I can't.
Well, who can confirm forever?
Because you do that sort of thing in romance novels.
Right.
I mean,
but to the author's credit, when in that it was Keys, I believe, where she's like basically offering him her body, and he's like, no, I want to see your art, and it's like, I knew it. I knew that's what he was going to ask for. Because again, really? That's what you ask for in romance novels.
What? She was so upset.
Yeah, because that was the real her. She didn't. She didn't want to be seen. So.
But he also said that he picked that key because he didn't think she would give it to him.
Right.
So what does that mean?
That's the most personal one she has.
Plot key is what that was. Okay? Come on.
No, that's again. I think that's a romantic novel thing.
Right.
Oh, that's me. This is what she values most. In other words. So.
But, and then you got the idea that she doesn't think that her art is art because she's just been faking everybody else's.
Right. Now I get imposter syndrome too.
Oh,
that's the other
squared.
Yeah. So, but it doesn't sound like she's ever really attempted, unless we weren't told about that, where she tried to make her own art.
Mm-hmm.
She just probably was in art school, and it's like, okay, we want you to try this, and hey, you're really good at that sort of everything. But she could also say she never had life experience to form that from which to draw that spark from, to create something on her own.
What's interesting to me is how much we put so much on being an original artist, first of all, it's not easy to create the art to begin with. It
Mhm.
is 10 times harder to recreate somebody else's art. That is something that is like this. It's almost impossible. It's like unless like there's a way, like a template, some way for somebody to copy it some way. This, if you're not gonna copy someone's paint, it's not
Mhm.
happening. So, but in order to have that much talent to be good enough to copy other people's work is kind of impressive.
I would
But it
suggest that.
sucks that you can't be original.
Well, I was going to say that I think those are two different skills. One seems to be
Right.
a technical skill, and the other just seems like you have it or you don't. You have that spark, and I see the world in this way. Here it is. I'm showing
Right.
it. And one of the things, and now that we're talking about it, I remember Salieri and Amadeus saying, what would it be like if you were only given enough talent to recognize the genius of another talent? Which is one of the. He says it a lot better than I did,
Right.
but that's basically what it is. It's like and there's just no accounting for it. It's just that's just the way it happens.
He Aldo seems like a very, very calm person throughout the book, but when he sees her painting and he overhears other people talking about it, he definitely gets pretty angry
in his head.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how dare they call it pretty?
I did not like the tone of that at all. I was like, oh, come on.
He was wholly offended.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
By their mediocrity.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Well, I mean, he felt like he finally saw her in her entirety in that moment. And obviously they're not seeing anything. They're not seeing what any of the...
Yeah, but they don't have the backstory.
Right, they don't have the backstory, right? They don't have the information. They don't have
context.
The access the context.
Yeah, so it's a bit disingenuous to say, oh, you losers.
All
right, look what I know. Like, oh, come
you
on.
Ignorant.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
yes, you ignorant, unwashed masses.
Pretentious
How
as
dare
hell
you?
right now.
Yeah. That just seemed out of character for me. And I get it from the romance movie, angle, but still it just seemed very out of character.
It was a little bit out of character for him. It was like, I feel like it was like the most emotional he had been in the whole book. Because even when they broke up, he was like, I think it's time for me to go. like nobody threw anything, because they had more passionate fights before that.
Yes.
So for him to so easily be like,
nah.
But then again, if you read the Goodreads comments, there's comments in there equating this to Shakespeare, and it's like, wait, what now?
Why are we equating this to Shakespeare?
I have no freaking idea. Shakespeare, at least I understood, despite the language. But Jesus, yeah. So clearly, people have not me, but people have strong feelings about this book. So,
did you review it already?
Of course, I reviewed it.
Oh, okay, because oftentimes I see your review like right before our discussion, and I don't ever mean to. And this time
I apologize in advance.
No, this time I didn't see it. So because usually it's like
I can tell you what it is. It's one line. I don't get it. Sorry, 2 stars. Done. Because I didn't.
Oh my god.
No, okay, and that's what
you didn't either. Is that what you just said?
Like there was a good story told, but there was a lot of points that didn't I don't know.
I mean, did both of you read the acknowledgments?
Yes.
Okay.
Now to that point, because the acknowledgments, if the reason you're pointing them out is to say the author wrote this because she has the same sort of thing. Okay. How should I put this? Okay, maybe the whole making paintings with the blood of your enemies is a little extreme, but I didn't see her going through with, it's just something that you say in the heat of the moment. I did not pick up, there's something clinical going on here.
Mm-hmm.
But I am not a clinician, obviously, so who the hell am I? But
Well, her not sleeping, her being like manic, I thought was really
right.
and hearing the author say that she didn't sleep for like 4 days, like I don't know, obviously there's something going on there chemically that causes people to do that. I can barely stay up 24 hours. I can't even imagine what my brain or my body would be feeling like if I was awake for 4 days.
You probably wouldn't like it. I'm just saying.
I mean, there's a point where your body actually goes into a state of delirium. So 4 days seems excessive, to be honest.
But what a tormented existence for an artist if those are the states in which they feel they can create art.
Unfortunately, that seems to be a strong correlation between those mental states and creativity.
Drama, art, creativity, just emotion. Art comes from emotion, and the deeper the emotion, the deeper you.
Trust me, I know I haven't written a poem in a really long time. There's a reason, but like, it just sucks. It just sucks. It sucks. It sucks. It also sucks to feel like you're good at something, right? Whether it's words or writing or whatever, and then feel like you're not in enough pain to create anything.
Is this where bipolar comes in? Where like a lot of artists are causing drama just to create?
I mean, I don't think
chaos.
bipolar is causing drama, but like they're feeling the highs and lows.
Right.
Like
as soon as like something seems normal, something's got to go out of whack. So.
It's just intense something. Like I've written songs, but again, it was like in really low points in my life. Because how else do you cope? How else do you cope with feeling those strong emotions unless creating something to get it the hell out of you? Like.
And because I just recently listened to a podcast with her on it, like Olivia Rodrigo. That's what she said she did. It's just, that's how we have driver's license.
Interesting.
I've had her new song stuck in my head, like really bad.
So, but yeah, and it's like, with writers, it's like, well, you have to write what you know. It's like, well, what do you know? And even if you know something, is it worthy of having a story built around, So who knows?
Well, okay, so you said you didn't get it.
Right.
Would you read anything else by this author?
If it came up in book club, yes. On my own, no, I would not.
What about you?
I mean,
I've been trying to.
Have I finished? No, I didn't finish that.
I've been trying to get you to read that so bad.
Okay, Olivie, like, why are we obsessed with 6?
In addition, though, I would not have read it had it not been a book club book from before I start. So, but it also made me realize why I like outline. Yes, this is the one romance book I read. So yes, I will keep referencing it. Thank you very much. It has something other going on other than the people getting together. And I'll just say that.
See, that's the thing that I have. I don't know, with all the different whether they call them romance books. I guess it would be if they have to get together in the end. I feel like they're all.
But some of the best ones they don't, John.
What did you know?
Hang on a second. What just happened?
Go ahead, finish what you were saying. Get out what you were saying.
Yes, sorry for talking over you.
No, I don't remember where I was going.
You sounded like
they're all templated. The only thing I can pull out of any romance novel is how they got together, what they did, and like where, like what was funny and or witty about any of the interactions, and that's what I pull out of it. So it's like them getting together is kind of like set in stone. Like obvious is gonna and there's certain plot keys points. I say key now because Jesus, it's in there for them, period. Like it's not necessarily, it's for the romance, it's for that little bit of interest, that awe, or I don't know, I just don't find all of those things appealing the same as you do.
Are you trying to say
It's just the I'm sorry. It's just the way you started. It's like, oh no, she's going to get him.
are you trying to say that romance is templated just because they end up together? Because I
wasn't trying to say that, but that's part of it.
I did tell you that in order for it to be classified as a romance,
I'm
it
aware
has
of that.
to include that.
I know.
I disagree.
No, that's like the actual
what
definition of romance.
No, but what makes romances notable is when they don't. And I can't say anything without giving spoilers away.
Whether or not there's tension, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes that tension actually causes more of the draw. You should know better than anybody. And that's probably why you like these books.
I am telling you that in publishing, in order to be classified in the romance genre, it must have a happy ending. It must have them getting together at the end. So, like, can there be romance in a different story where they don't get together? Absolutely. But it would not be classified as a romance book. It would either be literary fiction, or be women's fiction, or chick lit, or like all these other things. But like, what? Like, there's so many different stories.
Yeah,
like people can get together in 100 books. Okay, but like, is life not about the journey, not the destination?
That's true.
Okay, so like, it's fine. It's fine if you
no, I get it.
I get it. But
I
like,
understand. But there's just more. I mean, I guess again, it's all about how the story is told.
Yes.
And in this particular case, for me at least, when they started off, okay, I get it. There's good conversation here and whatnot, but there's a point. It's somewhere like maybe in the second or third part of the book where she shifts from showing then to telling, and that's where it's like, no, zoned out.
Yeah, I think that's the part that I have to reread, because I don't think I necessarily zoned out, but it just confused me.
Not necessarily zoned out, but it's just
the format changed, because like a big chunk of the book, like in the beginning, it's like their existence before they met, and then the rest is like their relationship, and there's more of an interaction between them, where you're right, she is showing, and then when they broke up, then the format changes again. So
it's like, telling us that these characters are brilliant. Well, I'd prefer to be shown that they are, say something brilliant, But.
Right.
Something I've been curious about, because like we already know about the honeycomb, but like the bees on this, I don't know if you can see.
Yes.
They're like interrupted. They're like.
It's a different art style.
Mm-hmm.
Is it? You're saying it's an art style?
Yeah.
The bee is sliced up.
Like, I know it's not pixelated, but I'm trying to think of the word that.
Cross sections.
No, like, is that called like scanning?
Yeah.
Because like a TV would do that, where it like draws out the lines. The whole thing about the queen bee and how the queen bee comes about, and the drone bees, and like that whole thing was fascinating. I had no idea about that. And what was really funny was that when you shared that video of the bees, I had not started the book yet, and I was like, I mean, I had seen stuff about bees. It was still fascinating, but I didn't connect the fact that you were probably sharing it because of the book.
Yeah. No, because I always look at bee videos. Yeah.
So I was like, so it wasn't until later that I was like, oh, he was probably sharing that because we were reading the book and there was mention of bees pretty often.
No, but the bees knew what to do. It's in case, in that, I forget what mine was. Oh, it was wrapped in something. I can't remember what it was.
I think it was in a spider web. Yeah.
Yeah, it was spider web. Yeah, that's what it was. So
Bees are fascinating.
I think the fascination with bees comes from the fact that they make this ornate thing. They do what they do, and they all don't seem to have the intelligence to do the things that they do. So they're literally just programmed to do what they do.
And yet, if you watch the video that Tom shared,
Mm-hmm.
they just seemed they seemed very like team oriented, but also doing their little individual roles to get stuff done. Like it seemed just impressive. Like,
was it like hive mind like?
No, it seemed like the bees were functioning together, but also individually.
Right?
Because some bees were like worried about taking the web off the bee,
have,
but then they rolled it up, and another bee was the one to like kick the
take it out. Yeah,
it's like it's crazy because they dance to tell other bees where things are at, and I don't know, they're intelligent as hell, but what do we see? What do we see? We see a little bug.
It made me want to pet a bumblebee.
You want to pet a bumblebee? You go out to the butterfly garden.
I suspect there are a lot more stories like that in the natural world that we don't know about.
Oh, absolutely. Like every single different species has a language colony. Like it's no way. There's no way we can understand everything.
And one example of that is Richard Powers' novel, The Overstory. Without going into it.
The Overstory.
Yes, The Overstory. And in that case, it's trees. You know, it's like it's so well written. It's like, okay, I'm apparently invested in trees now.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, it was really, really well done. So.
Well, I'm trying to think if like, I mean, I definitely do want to reread it. I don't think it'll be like high on my priority list to reread it, so it won't be within my next few rereads because I don't reread that often anyway. But I think she does have a book that has something to do with Shakespeare. I don't know if it's a retelling or something. I think it's called Masters of Death, I think.
Could be.
But who knows? You still need to read the Atlas 6.
I know. I don't even know how far I'm into it, but
you said you weren't understanding it for some reason.
I'll try again.
All right, I guess we can do final thoughts. You can go first.
Final thoughts? 3 stars. It was a cute story. I liked there was a couple nice jokes in there, but it didn't keep me like enthralled and entranced. I wasn't like, oh, what's happening next? But
it was a pretty short story. It was like 260 pages.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did it feel longer? All right, so 3 stars. Tom already told us he gave it 2 stars and he didn't get it.
Yeah.
All right, I think I give it 4 stars. And a potential reread. So that's where we're at.
It's got potential for rereads for reasons, but
I also think this was one of her like first indie published works, possibly, that was then re-released after her popularity with the Atlas 6.
Okay.
So that's been happening a lot to authors that have been popular on TikTok. Like they're indie authors and then their work is getting picked up by a big publisher and things are getting like re-released.
I see. Good for them.
Yes.
So you picked October's read.
Well, you guys picked it. I just gave the candidates.
You provided the selections.
Yes.
What was the name of it again? It's a graphic novel.
Afterlife with Archie, Volume 1, Escape from Riverdale, by, you would do a lot better with this name than I would, Desirai. Roberto Aguirre Sagasa and
Okay.
Francisco Francavilla, writer and illustrator, respectively.
We'll
What?
talk about this after the show. I'm confused about a few things.
Okay.
But okay. Let's keep going.
Okay, so we're reading a graphic novel. You are welcome to read it with us and then come back for our October discussion.
Yes.
Once again, I wish I had something to show. I haven't purchased it yet, unfortunately. So once again, if you ever want to join us on screen on our discussions, you can do that by becoming a book club VIP member at patreon.com/Libri Labra. So if you've made it this far, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. So, bye.
Bye.